How does a Halloween joke end with papers handed to me in daylight? What starts as playful touches at a crowded party can turn into a quiet plan I never saw? Can a husband keep his voice low, gather receipts, and still undo the story I wrote about us? I'm Ianthe Crowell, 31, and I said Halloween is for harmless fun. I work the front desk at a dental clinic where I smiled at children and reminded adults to floss. My husband, Owen Marlowe, 36, taught history and liked rules that stayed the same. Our daughter, Poppy, 6, loved glitter stickers and bedtime songs. People said I was lively and he was steady. I said that made us perfect. I also said playful touches at a party do not hurt a marriage if the room laughs. At the Halloween party, I dressed bold and let other men tap my arm, squeeze my waist, and joke about the costume. Phones were up. I laughed along and called it theatre. Later, Owen said he saw everything. I said he was reading drama into a joke. He said respect matters more than applause. I said the whole block knew we were modern and kind. He moved a blanket to the couch and said the house needed calm. I called it punishment and posted a caption that read, "Playful betrayal." Work the next morning felt bright and thin. My manager asked for a quick word about tagged photos. I said neighbors tease and it means nothing. A patient stared at my ring. Clara, my sister, texted that confidence wins if I keep posting. I believed her. When Owen stopped by with Poppy's jacket, his phone flashed a small square. Downtown 1125. I told myself it was errands. I did not see how quiet can be a plan until the day the plan stood in front of me. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. I set the candy bowl on our counter and told myself the party had been cute. I said costumes made people act like TV, and that was the joy. Owen stood in the doorway with his hands in his pockets. He asked if I thought the touching was fine. I said it was only playful. He asked if I noticed phones were up when Cal put his hand at my waist. I said of course, and that was the point. The room wanted a show. He said he felt disrespected. I said he was reading drama into a joke. I rinsed 2 plastic cups and watched orange glitter run down the sink. I said, Halloween is theatre, and theatre needs audience. He said, our marriage is not a stage. I said the stage keeps love young. He said the stage invites strangers to touch me. I said, strangers are not dangerous when everyone laughs. He said the room's laughter is not consent. I said, consent was the laugh, the smiles, the raised glasses. He did not agree. He stared at the backsplash like it might tell him how to speak to me. My phone buzzed with the party group chat. Noor sent a clip of me twirling in the kitchen while Felix clapped. Danny added pumpkins and wrote that my costume won the block. I held the phone up as proof and said the comments were all kind. Owen said strangers being kind does not change what he saw. I said he needed to loosen up like he once told me at a barbecue. He said that line was about small talk with neighbors, not hands on my waist. I said the waist was part of the costume, and costumes ask for play. He said his vows did not come with holiday exceptions. I opened the fridge and took out a container of pasta no one wanted. I asked if he was hungry. He said no. I said he was punishing me with a quiet face. He said he was trying not to fight in front of Poppy's door. I said he was hiding behind the child to control me. He said he was protecting the child from noise. I said I was the one who kept things bright. He said bright could still burn. I said he loved my shine when it was aimed at his friends. He said he loved me, not the show. I wiped the counter and told a new story. I said the touching was light, a tap on the arm, a squeeze. I said it could not hurt if it helped me feel alive after a long week at the clinic. He asked if he felt alive when he watched it. I said he could decide to feel proud of my confidence. He said pride and pain cannot share the same second. I said He was making this larger than it was. He said it was already large because I made it public. He moved past me and lifted a folded blanket from the chair. He said he would sleep on the couch. I said the couch was a sentence. He said the couch was calm. I said calm looked like a cold wall. He said walls keep storms out. I said there was no storm. He said he was soaked already. He laid the blanket down and smoothed it with even hands. The action was small and final in a way that made my throat feel tight. I opened my social app and drafted a caption. I wrote playful betrayal in white letters on a black background and added a tiny bat. I said, neighbors know when a moment is harmless. I said we should stop acting like a laugh is a crime. Hearts rolled in within seconds. Clara, my sister, sent a crown emoji and wrote that confidence wins. I screenshotted her message and put the phone face up on the counter like a shield. Owen set his phone next to it. The lock screen lit and showed a small block that read, Downtown 11:25. I told myself it was coffee with a coworker or a stop at the hardware store. I said he was finally using reminders because I had nagged him for years. He turned the phone face down and said he wanted the kitchen to be quiet. I said, quiet felt like pushing me out. He said he needed sleep. I said, sleep was for people who had no answers. He said he would think in the morning. I peeked into Poppy's room. She slept with a glitter sticker on her forehead and a plastic ring around her thumb. I took the ring off and placed it on the dresser. I whispered that Mommy was fun, and fun is safe when people laugh. I wanted to believe the sentence as I said it. I closed her door slowly until the latch barely touched and made a soft click, like a tiny seal on something that should stay whole. Back in the hall, Owen stretched the blanket over the couch and turned off the lamp. I stood in the dim kitchen and scrolled the clip again. The video showed me tilting my head while Cal laughed and clapped. The comments said, Queen, icon, manifest. I let the words sink into me like warm water. I said the room had picked me, and picking me was picking us. Owen said the room had picked a show. I said the show was the community. He did not answer. He faced the back of the couch and stayed still. The apartment went quiet in that heavy way that makes small sounds loud. The fridge clicked, the fan hummed. A car passed outside and made thin stripes of light on the ceiling. My chest felt tight, so I took a slow breath and told myself I had done nothing wrong. I told myself he would thank me one day for making our street lively. I told myself modern love needs modern nights. I held the phone and watched my caption glow. Then a new sound came from the counter, a low buzz with no name on the screen. One vibration, a pause, two more. It was his phone, face down, the light leaking under it. He did not move. I did not move. The buzz sat in the dark between rooms like a small machine that had a job to do. I told myself it was the weather alert or a school message. I told myself anything that did not require me. The apartment stayed still around the sound. Morning at the clinic wore a fake lemon smell. I pinned on my name tag and placed the candy bowl under the counter so the kids would not grab two at once. Sonia, my manager, greeted me with a tight smile and asked for a quick word. Her voice was gentle and heavy at the same time. She said a patient had shown her a tagged Halloween clip. She said the clip placed me at the center of a joke that some families might not like. She said the clinic lives on trust. I said the party was goofy neighborhood fun. I said I was in costume and everyone laughed. She asked if my husband agreed to the moment. I said he knew I am lively. She asked if that meant yes. I said the night was harmless. She nodded in a way that looked like setting down a fragile cup. I opened my draft and typed harmless Halloween in soft letters. I wrote that crowd, joy scares people who fear light. I added 2 hearts and a pumpkin. I pressed post because the day needed a frame. A boy came in with his mother and stared at my ring. He asked if I had candy now or later. I said later after the dental check and smiled with all my teeth. The mother glanced at my hand, then at the wall, then at her phone. She paid the copay and asked if Dr. Chen was on time. I said yes. My voice held steady because I make it do that. Sonia leaned out of the tiny HR room and asked if I was okay. I said of course and pointed at the schedule like it was a shield. She said she trusted me to use good sense. I said I always do. The words felt thin and I said them anyway. Around noon, a teen in a hoodie pressed his face close to the window, filmed a short clip of the front desk and laughed. The flash hit the glass and bounced into my eyes. I kept my smile and waved because I refused to give strangers the drama they want. A text came from Owen. He said he did not agree to public touching. He said he wanted clear rules and quiet work at home. I archived the message because the word archive feels better than ignore. I told myself we would talk tonight, and he would understand that joy is not a crime. I sent a DM to Cal asking him to comment that it was a joke and nothing more. He replied with a ghost emoji and wrote that people are sensitive. I said he should post that under the clip. He sent a thumbs up and then went silent. The bell above the door rang. Owen stepped in with Poppy's pink jacket over his arm. He said she left it on the back seat and would need it for pickup because the wind would turn. I thanked him in my clinic voice. He asked if my shift ended at 5. I said yes, and suggested we take a sweet family picture on the balcony to end the whispers. He said photos are not repair, routines are. He placed the jacket on the counter and set his phone next to it. For a second, the screen lit and showed a small grid icon and a label that said household. Then he picked it up again and wished me a steady day. He left with the jacket folded clean, and the doorbell sounded light as a coin. I took my 10-minute break and checked our shared list app. A new list sat under his name, with lines that marched: detergent, stamps, planner pages, freezer meals, child toothpaste, folder tabs. The neatness made a tight place in my chest. I added glitter stickers to the bottom because I like to see something bright on a list. The stickers looked silly next to practical words. I told myself, balance is art. When I came back to the desk, Noor had posted a rooftop recap that stitched together clips from last night and the party. In one frame, I tilted my head while Cal laughed. In the corner of the frame, Owen's face was still. The comment said Queen and also said poor man. I liked the Queen and scrolled past the rest. A patient approached and asked if the hygienist was running late. I said 10 minutes at most and handed her a clipboard. She stared at my ring again, as if it had a radio inside. Sonia asked me to step into the HR room for a minute. She said a pastor from the neighborhood had called to book a cleaning and asked if the Halloween girl still worked at the desk. She said it might be wise to keep my personal post gentle for a while. I said I was already gentle. She said gentler. I nodded and told her I would share a simple message about joy. She thanked me and touched the door frame with her fingers, like a person making a small wish. The afternoon slowed. 2 kids argued over the sticker drawer and then forgot the fight when I gave both of them foxes. I adjusted the candy bowl and stacked appointment cards while pretending not to read my phone. Cal did not comment under my post. Danny sent a video with a pumpkin filter and typed that haters should hydrate. I laughed in a way that felt like a cough. Then a tight group of teens stopped on the sidewalk, lined their phone to the window, and aimed at me like I was a fish in a tank. The flash hit the glass again and slid across the keyboard into my hands. One boy mouthed, "That's her," and the others laughed. I breathed in and smiled at the next patient and said we were ready for her now. My voice did not shake. Inside, my chest hummed like the clinic light. Owen texted that he would handle pickup and that bedtime would be at 8 as usual. I wrote back a thumbs up and then deleted it before sending, because a thumbs up looked small. I typed we should post a nice frame later and hit send. He wrote we will keep to the schedule. I stared at the words and tried to make them warmer with my eyes. They did not change. The door opened again. A mother with a toddler came in and asked if she could pay cash. I said yes and gave change. The toddler pointed at the bowl and asked for candy. I said after the visit and offered a sticker instead. He slapped it on his shirt and smiled. The mother smiled at him and not at me. I felt the weight of the party like a cloak I could not take off at work. I stood straight and lifted my chin and told myself this was just a ripple. I told myself one balcony photo would smooth the water. I told myself a room that laughs is a room that cares. I placed the appointment cards in a perfect fan and lined the pens in a neat row. Outside, the teens drifted away like confetti pushed by a broom. The rooftop bar looked like a picture on a postcard: string lights, glass rail, city air that felt clean because it was high up. Danny waved me over, shouting that the star had arrived. Noor slid a chair out with a smile that wanted a show. I said the room needed closure and that I would give it a calm, smart speech. I set my clutch down and lifted my chin the way the camera likes. I told myself light wins if you hold it steady. Owen came in wearing a soft sweater and the look he saves for long lessons. He stood at the edge of our table, hands by his sides. He asked if we could talk without microphones. I said the microphones were our neighbors and that this is how grown people fix confusion. He asked what I wanted. I said I wanted trust and a public toast that said playful is safe. He said he wanted respect. His voice was level, not loud. Level can feel like a locked door. I tapped my glass with a teaspoon. The tiny chime jumped into the wind and landed in phones. People at 2 nearby tables turned as if they had paid for tickets. I said last night's party was harmless theatre. I said Halloween touches are part of the show and shows keep a marriage young. I said we choose joy over jealousy. A little wave of claps rolled out. Owen said he felt humiliated when he watched men put hands on me. I said he was choosing a jealous read over a generous one. He said the room's laughter did not sign a contract. I said laughter is consent to the moment. The line sounded smooth and wrong at the same time, so I smiled bigger to make it sound right. A woman in sequins asked for the smoking patio story. I smiled and called it a montage. A tap on the arm, a hand at the lower back, a joke about glitter. I said nothing heavy, only play. She laughed, filmed, and said, "The city needs me." Owen looked at the skyline instead of me. He set his phone on the table for a second. The lock screen flashed a tiny grid with the word expenses and then went dark. A slim folder in his bag showed a tab that read schedule. He turned the phone face down and straightened his napkin, which did not need help. The neatness felt louder than shouting. Danny called for a toast. The chant rose, soft at first, then fuller, like a tide that knows the shore. I raised my glass. I said honesty, joy, and modern love. I said a confident wife is not a threat. I said we are bigger than gossip. Owen put his glass down. He said he would not pose. He said shows teach crowds, not families. I said families need crowds sometimes so the world knows they are strong. That sentence earned a cheer. The cheer warmed my chest and made my throat feel tight. Noor shouted that I should tag Cal. I said Cal was a friend, and the party was last night, not tonight. Someone yelled that I should thank him for the viral clip. I laughed and called it neighborhood cinema. I heard myself say cinema and wondered when my living room became a screen. The wind pressed the paper menu up against my wrist. I pinned it down with my palm and kept talking because I feared what silence might show. The server brought the bill to our table without asking. Owen reached for it, thanked the server by name, and placed his card in the folder. He said he would head home. He said he would keep bedtime steady. I said we could take one quick photo to close the debate. He said photos are not repair. He said routines are. He pushed his chair in without a scrape and told me to have a safe night. I said the night loved me. He nodded once like a box checked and walked toward the stairwell. I turned back to the table because the room still had its mouth open. I lifted my glass again and gave the same lines with more shine. Harmless, grown, brave. Danny's live stream glowed near my face. The hearts bubbled up the side. Then comments shifted. Someone typed that he looked alone in the background last night. Someone else asked if a laugh can be consent for hands. Another line said, "Wait until the school moms see this." I scrolled too fast to read the slower ones and liked only the kind words. That is my method. Keep the light moving. Eli appeared near the rail, hands in his pockets like he had nowhere to be, but also did. He asked if I needed a ride. I said I was fine, and that wind gives me courage. He said wind can push without warning. He said to hold the rail. He spoke like weather, not judgment. I smiled at him, and at the camera, and at the city, because smiling is my shield. Karaoke started on the far side of the roof. The chorus bled into my table like water under a door. Casey begged for one more toast. The chant rose again, hungry for a clean ending. I said forgiveness moves faster than fear. I said we are teaching the block how modern love breathes. The words tasted like sugar and tin. The live screen showed my grin as a soft flare, and in the corner, a tiny reflection of me looked tired. The check came back. Owen's card was gone. The folder lay flat. I told the table the next round was on me, and watched people cheer the word me. Phones moved closer again. I made my voice sweet and steady and filled the space where he had been with the shape of my confidence. It worked on the room. I was not sure it worked on me. When I finally stood to leave, the elevator doors opened and closed in a loop for a moment, no one stepping in. The sound felt like a small machine breathing. I stepped into the car and stared at the mirror. The mirror made 3 of me, one that smiled, one that stalled, one that listened to the wind. The door shut, soft and precise. Margaret picked the family restaurant with the lemon pies under glass, and the booths that make people sit close. She likes steady corners and plain food when feelings are loud. We met at the long table near the back. I brought a bakery box to look helpful. Owen guided Poppy into a booster and tied her napkin like a flag. He greeted me softly. I said we were fine. The word fine felt like a coat that did not fit. Menus acted like little shields for 2 minutes. I used the gap to talk about school art and Poppy's sticker chart. Margaret watched me with eyes that held no heat. She asked if the party touching was agreed between both of us. I said it was harmless fun, and everybody laughed. She asked if laughter meant agreement. I said yes for the night, because that is how parties work. The answer sounded weak next to her quiet face. Eli slid in and asked Poppy about her favorite trick-or-treat house. She said the one with the friendly dog. We smiled because that was easy. The waitress came, and I ordered water with lemon to sound controlled. Owen asked about soup and onions. The room hummed with forks and soft radio music that did not pick a side. Margaret asked again, more gently, about rules. She said children learn by looking. I said children also learn that life is not a cage. She said life needs rails. I said rails can be pretty when you wrap lights around them. She did not smile, but she did not scold. She glanced at Poppy instead, and the message still traveled. My jaw tried to lock. I told it not to. Owen's phone buzzed with a number that did not have a name. He declined the call and put the phone face down. He took a small notebook from his pocket and wrote a neat line. A date, a time, a small square. The motion was calm and exact, as if he had practiced it in another room. I watched the pen like it was a new appliance in our house. I told myself it was a grocery list, then told myself lists are love, and then wondered why I felt cold. The food came. Poppy ate 2 bites and traced a star on the condensation of her cup. I lifted my water and made a short toast. I said family, fun, and light hearts. I said playful is not betrayal. I said we were strong enough to laugh. The words landed like paper. Eli asked the waitress about pie slices. Owen poured water and said we could go to the park if the light held. His tone was even. Even tones can bruise because they do not split. Poppy looked at me. She asked if men touching Mommy's costume is one of our house rules now. She said a girl at school showed her a phone and said my mom is famous from the party. She asked if Daddy will be famous too. The table went quiet in a careful way. The pie case hummed like a distant engine. I swallowed and said it was just a joke from a party. I said adults sometimes do silly things and then explain. My voice sounded like a teacher stuck mid-lesson. Margaret said children need simple rules they can see. She did not raise her voice. She placed the line on the table like a folded napkin. Owen told Poppy that our rules are steady. Kind voices, safe hugs, bedtime at 8, school on time. He said grown-ups fix hard things slowly. Poppy nodded because she trusts him. The nod bent me in a place I did not expect. I said Owen was freezing me out to look noble. I said the couch was a stage he made to win sympathy. He said the couch was quiet. He said he would not perform. I said he was making me the villain. He said I did that when I asked the crowd to clap while he watched. The sentence felt like a mirror I wanted to turn to the wall. The waitress set the check down early. Owen took it, paid, and stacked the receipts neatly. He thanked the waitress by name. He helped Poppy pick a sticker from the bowl by the register. She chose a glitter heart and pressed it to her sleeve. I reached for my phone to stage a family photo by the pie case and say the comments were wrong. Before I could ask, the front door opened. 2 neighbors stepped in from the cold and stopped on the mat. They saw us, saw my phone, and held up a screen with the rooftop live paused on my smile. One glanced at Owen and then away. The air got thin in my chest. I put my phone down and picked up the bakery box instead. It felt heavy with nothing in it. Margaret touched my elbow and said she knew I loved Poppy. She said, "Love listens." I said I was listening, but in a modern way. The word sounded cheap. Eli said he could handle Tuesday pickup if that helped. Owen thanked him. The thanks slid past me like a fish under ice. I wanted to break the surface and could not find where. We moved to the small lobby by the door to say goodnight. The glass fogged with our breath. The unknown number buzzed again on Owen's phone. He declined it without looking. He opened the notebook and drew another clean line under the last date. The pen moved like a train on a track. I watched and felt a quiet fear that did not have a name yet. Outside, the neighbors shifted to let us pass and kept their eyes on the screen. Poppy showed me the glitter heart and asked if it meant brave or good. I said both. I tried to mean it. The night smelled like lemon cleaner and wet pavement. A bus sighed at the corner and pulled away. I asked Owen if we could post one sweet photo tonight to end rumors. He said photos could wait. He said we would keep to the schedule. He said goodnight to his mother, to Eli, then to me. The door closed behind them with a soft seal that felt like a lock. I stood under the awning, with the box in my hands and the word brave sticking to my teeth. My phone felt hot in my pocket. I opened the camera, closed it, opened it again. Through the glass, the pie case kept humming like a calm heart I could not borrow. The stairwell smelled like dust and old paint. I came up with a grocery bag and a smile I had practiced in the elevator mirror. Owen came down from the landing with a pillow and a folded blanket. He said the couch kept the house calm. I said the couch was a message. He said routine beat arguments. I said routine was a cage for feelings. He did not argue. He placed the pillow at one end, like a person who trusts steps more than talk. In the kitchen, I arranged fruit in a bowl, bright and useless. I posted a soft photo with a caption that said, "Harmless fun keeps families light." Clara sent 2 hearts and then nothing. Margaret texted only about Poppy's bath time. I told Owen the internet would calm down after a happy frame. He said the night already told its own story. I said a caption could write a better one. He said captions were not repair. I said repair could be public. He said repair would be private. At the park the next afternoon, he sat on a bench and watched Poppy climb the ladder. He spoke about bedtime, dinner, school pickup. I said he hid behind rules to make me the villain. He said rules kept kids safe when adults forgot their own. I said he was punishing me. He said he was making a routine. He kept his eyes on Poppy and named each slide one more. The sun flashed on the metal and did not care about my words. We stopped at the supermarket. A neighbor by the eggs looked at my ring and then back at her list. I told the cashier we were doing great and laughed too loudly. Owen asked for the receipt and folded it with two others. I asked why he needed a stack. He said tracking helped decisions. I said small papers make small lives. He held the door for an older man, who smiled at him and not at me. My cheeks burned. I decided it was the freezer air. Home looked neater than I remembered. A narrow shelf held fresh folders with plain labels: household, insurance, schedule, media. His laptop glowed with tidy cells and tabs. A call buzzed on his phone without a name. He tapped mute. I said the show had gone far enough, and we should delete messy clips and post one clean family picture. He said the show was done. He said the next steps would be handled properly. I laughed and asked what properly even meant, as if I did not feel the word land. He walked past me toward the spare room. The printer started with a low whir. Pages slid out in a steady rhythm that made my teeth feel odd. I stood in the doorway and asked to see. He said later. I said I needed clarity now. He said I would get it. He checked the stack, squared the pages, and switched off the lamp. The room was dark, but the paper still looked warm. That night I tried again. I said one balcony photo could end whispers. He said photos could wait. He said tomorrow's pickup stayed the same, and Poppy's jacket was by the door. I said he was freezing me out to collect points. He said he was following a schedule for a child who did not choose this. He set his phone on the counter. The screen lit once. Downtown, 11:25. He turned it face down. I wrote a longer post called How Harmless Works. I asked Noor to share it and say we were stronger than gossip. She sent a pumpkin and then went quiet. I messaged Danny to add a line about grown joy. The dots blinked and vanished. I told myself everyone was busy. Through the wall, the couch creaked when Owen turned. The sound was small and final. Morning arrived in square light. Poppy asked if her glitter heart could ride on her sleeve again. I said yes and tied her shoe. Owen checked the weather and placed a note on the table. Pick up 3:15, park if dry. I said he wrote like a report. He said notes help people breathe. He shouldered his bag and paused. He said we would handle this properly. His face looked tired and clear. I said the word sounded like a threat. He said it was a plan. The door eased shut and clicked like a period. The courthouse plaza felt colder than the street. Stone steps, a metal rail, a square of sky that made people look small. I arrived at noon with a speech I had polished on the bus. I planned to say the party was harmless and that we were a team. I practiced a soft smile in the glass of the lobby door. The elevator bell chimed inside. The doors slid open, and a group came out like a quiet tide. Owen stood near a planter with his messenger bag. He kept a respectful distance, arms loose. I started with my line about joy. A woman beside him asked me to confirm my name. Her voice was polite, the kind used for daily work. She held a large envelope. I said there was a mistake and that I was only here to talk. She checked a line on a small sheet and placed the packet in my hands. My fingers closed before my mind agreed. A clerk on lunch paused at the steps. A security guard turned his head and then back again. I slid a finger under the flap and lifted the first page. The words sat quiet and heavy. It was a divorce petition. It listed temporary orders about money and who stayed in the apartment for now. It included a proposed custody schedule for Poppy, with pickups, weekends, and holidays marked in clean lines. It carried a short rule about social media and our child's privacy. I looked up and said, this was too far. Owen said this was necessary. He said today's pickup time was in the packet, and dinner would be at the normal hour. I said Playful was not cheating. He said the label did not change impact. I said we could fix it with one joint post. He said posts were not part of the plan. He did not step closer. He did not raise his voice. He kept the same careful space, as if a thin painted line lay between us on the stone. A gust moved across the plaza and lifted the top page. I pressed it down with a thumb that shook. The square felt loud and quiet at once. The security radio clicked and stopped. I read the line about keeping Poppy's face off public accounts. My throat went dry. The letters did not move. They held. The process server thanked me for accepting service and walked away. Owen nodded once, the way he nods when a box is checked. He said he wished me a steady day. He said future notes would go through proper channels. I said I wanted to talk about the truth and the crowd and the plan. He said truth could stand in the right places. He turned toward the steps. Sunlight cut a white stripe across the stone. He crossed it with steady steps. I called his name and asked him to wait for a simple caption to stop rumors. He lifted a hand in a small wave and did not turn. The revolving door to the lobby swung once and slowed. The packet felt heavy and official in my arms. I looked down and read the first lines again. They stayed the same. The plaza hummed with a bus engine at the corner. Somewhere above, a flag clicked against its pole. A man in a navy coat checked his watch and walked faster. A woman with a file box shifted her grip and moved past me. The guard spoke softly into the radio, then quieted, as if sound could break the moment. I thought of the labeled folders on the shelf, the muted calls, the receipts, the printer at night, the notes on our table, pick up 3:15, park if dry. The pattern looked simple now that it was finished. Owen reached the sidewalk and waited at the crosswalk. The light changed. He stepped into sun. My speech dissolved in the cold air. The packet edges pressed a dent into my palm. I did not follow because the space between us had rules now. The doors behind me slid closed. The stripe of sun on the stone narrowed and moved away. I stood still, holding the result. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. Write in the comments from which city you are watching.